Hello, welcome back. I'm Patrick Ridenour, and as you can see, I'm flying solo again. Terry had to go somewhere, but anyway, we have our first we have our first top cut match of today, which is Eugene Vizel versus Chris Liang. We've already seen Eugene on stream today in round 2, but Chris is going to be a new face to the stream. It'll be very interesting to see what he brings in store for us. And, yeah, here we go. We've already seen Eugene's team, but we have Chris here with a very interesting team. We have Togedemaru, Snorlax, Arcanine, Comfey, Gastrodon, and Metagross, which is a lot like what you would expect from a VGC 2017 team. So it'll be very interesting to see how his team plays out. But yeah, it looks. But once again, Eugene bringing his team of Incineroar, Manectric, Braviary, Virizion, Aegislash, and Tapu Fini. We still haven't seen Virizion on the stream yet, so maybe we'll see it this time. It'll be a very interesting Pokemon to see. But I'm more interested to see how Chris's team works out, because, I mean, I don't want to sound harsh here, but it does look a little dated. So I just want to see how he plays with it and see how good it is. I mean, it's gotten to top cut, so it has to be at least a little good, you know? But anyway, I'd be expecting to see that his Mega would be the Metagross, and that, yeah, so we're seeing the battle start. Both players have picked their Pokemon, and so on... Alright, so now we just have to wait for the match to start up. On the opposing end, we see Eugene. So Chris will be on the stream 3DS, and we see Chris leading off with Togedemaru and Snorlax, and Eugene leading right off with Manectric and Braviary, which... okay, so this is a pretty good lead for Chris, because Togedemaru has Lightning Rod to prevent Manectric from, you know, Volt Switching, although Manectric does have Overheat to take care of the Togedemaru. But another thing is that Togedemaru has Fake Out here. It can also threaten the Braviary, and possibly allow Snorlax to have a turn to do what it wants. And yeah, Togedemaru goes for the Fake Out into the Braviary. Manectric does the only thing it can do, going for Overheat into that Togedemaru, bringing it right down to Sturdy. That's interesting. Because that shows that not only is the Togedemaru not even Lightning Rod, that's a very surprise ability. It's Togedemaru's hidden ability. But anyway, Chris's Snorlax gets Belly Drum up pretty much for free here. It was Sturdy. So anyway, now we have now Eugene is facing down a +6 Snorlax, and although it's out of Trick Room, it's still a very big threat. But anyway, even at 1 HP here, Togedemaru can probably still be pretty threatening to the Braviary, because it's keeping Manectric from Mega Evolving, because Eugene really wants to keep that Lightning Rod to keep the Zing Zap from happening. Yeah, and then, yep, Manectric Mega Evolves right now, and so that's going to get Snorlax down to +5, although either way, it's going to be taking out one of these Pokemon this turn, because unless we see a Protect, we do see Braviary Protect, so if Chris went into Manectric, then it's lights out. Oh, Togedemaru showing an interesting choice. It goes for Reflect, which is very unusual. And now Manectric goes for Volt Switch, knowing that it can do that, since this Togedemaru does not have Lightning Rod. And Manectric just gets right on out of here, wanting to refresh that Intimidate, and not be taken out by this Snorlax this turn. And we do see Virizion take the field, but it might be a dead turn if he went into that slot. And Chris went into the Braviary slot, so Virizion gets to come in for the first time. Now, we have to see what Chris is going to do to respond to this situation. And we see Comfey take the field, which I myself don't know a whole lot about this Pokemon. I just know that it has that ability. I don't even remember what it was called. But anyway, Virizion is in a pretty good spot here because it can go for the fighting type attack onto the Snorlax, and Braviary switches, wanting to dodge that potential return into that slot. Virizion going for the close combat, trying to get Snorlax off the field, and Comfey goes right for the Trick Room, so now Snorlax is in a very good position because now it's going to be the fastest thing on the field. And now Virizion is pretty fast, so it's probably going to want to switch out here. And Aegislash goes for King's Shield, preparing for the potential high horsepower into that slot, and we're seeing the double protect from Eugene. So, you know, he's playing it pretty safe here, trying to stall out the Trick Room here, and we see the taunt, which goes through King's Shield, so now Aegislash will not be able to do that anymore. So now that is a free slot for Chris to just attack. If he can just attack Aegislash now with high horsepower, and he won't have to worry about King's Shield or a substitute going up, which we have already seen from Eugene's Aegislash. And Chris switches out Comfey, and we are seeing Gastrodon take the field, which is normally I would say that's a risky play because of Virizion, but Virizion's threatened out by the potential return, and we see Braviary just eat that up and sacrifice itself instead, with Eugene maybe recognizing that Braviary was not going to be of too much use this match, and he just wants to stall out Trick Room until Virizion can handle this Snorlax. But anyway, this is a very good position for Chris because now all Eugene can really do is just try to play as defensively as possible and stall out the Trick Room terms. But anyway, now Chris could either return the Manectric or high horsepower the Aegislash, and Aegislash cannot King's Shield because it has been taunted. And we do see Gastrodon switch out and Comfey take the field once more, and Eugene recognizing that he wants to keep Aegislash and switches it out. Virizion takes the field, so that covers the high horsepower option. Manectric protecting itself, covering the option if he went into that, and Eugene making pretty good reads with all of the protects and switches. But it's still a pretty bad position because this Virizion is going to drop to a return easily. And Eugene is playing very well, stalling out all the Trick Room turns. And he switches Manectric out for Aegislash to cover the option of return going into that slot. But does he read that? That's the question. Virizion protecting itself from any potential return, and return goes into the Virizion. So, and Aegislash is once again taunted, so it will not be able to use King's Shield, and Trick Room has expired. So, I think Eugene will have to recognize that the Snorlax does have Protect, and he'll have to focus down Comfey to make sure it can't get Trick Room up. And so I'm expecting to see Eugene try to focus that down because he really does not want Trick Room to go up, but Chris could very easily make him pay for that, and that is indeed what we see him do. And we see Leaf Blade go into the Comfey, and we're seeing Never-Ending Nightmare potentially also going into that slot, because it'd be pretty bad if yet he is targeting the Comfey, I would presume. And so, yeah, he should have taken care of the Trick Room setup with that move, but as you may have seen, Snorlax did not protect. So Chris probably read that and went for an attack. He goes right for that Virizion and takes it out. So unfortunately, we did get to see Virizion, but we didn't get to see it do too much. So now, Eugene is going to have to hope that his combination of Pokemon left is enough to take out Chris's 2 Pokemon. Because he just has Gastrodon and Manectric. Manectric won't be able to do anything to this Gastrodon because it just has, you know, Volt Switch, Overheat, nothing to really hit it. But we did see Aegislash do a pretty good chunk of damage to the Gastrodon, so it's possible he could double into it with like Hidden Power Ice and Shadow Ball. But we do see Gastrodon protect, with, you know, Chris recognizing that as a possibility. And he goes for the Snarl. And Aegislash goes for Shadow Ball, trying to get Eugene out of here. And Chris goes for the return into the Manectric, and that Manectric is out of play. So now it's just Aegislash against the world here. Can Aegislash just clean sweep this? Or is he... Oh, hi, Pikachu. It's Aegislash against Chris's 2, but I think it's going to be... It's a very tough spot for Eugene, certainly. He goes for the Shadow Ball, probably hoping for a high roll or something on this Gastrodon. He lives with 2! And Gastrodon gets the Earth Power and sends that Aegislash to the graveyard. So that is... Oh, it's a Life Orb Gastrodon. That's interesting. So Chris using a more offensive Gastrodon set, and that game 1 is going to Chris. So I think now Eugene is going to have to prepare with knowing that Togedemaru is not only not Lightning Rod, which is good knowledge for him because now he knows his Manectric is free to do whatever it wants, but he also needs to figure out how to handle that Belly Drum Snorlax, because it's clear that just Aegislash alone isn't enough for that, so he needs to keep Trick Room from getting up, first things first, and make sure he gets rid of that Snorlax as soon as possible. So he'll probably have to bring Virizion and try to just close combat into that Snorlax slot and try to get it out of there. But we have seen Protect, so if Chris has Recycle, then that would say that he doesn't have high horsepower at all, but we still don't know that yet. So, anyway, I think Chris's last setup for the team was a pretty good pick. And Eugene is definitely going to have to change things up if he wants to grab this game too. Alright, so we see the match starting. And once again, we see Eugene on the opposing side. And let's see if... And we see Chris straight up leading for Comfey and Snorlax. And Eugene indeed changing it up quite a bit with Incineroar and Braviary. So now Incineroar can threaten Fake Out and prevent Trick Room setup, prevent Belly Drum, and I do believe we've seen Whirlwind from this Braviary. So it should have no issues just preventing Trick Room from being set up. So yeah, Eugene is in a very good spot here because Incineroar threatens that Fake Out pressure, and Braviary can threaten Whirlwind onto something and just prevent this whole Trick Room from sweeping his team. And Incineroar goes for Low Kick into that Snorlax, recognizing it's a big threat. And Eugene, of course, going for the Whirlwind into what was the Comfey and is now the Gastrodon. So now Eugene has seen all of the Pokemon that Chris has brought to this match, while Chris has only saw those first 2 Pokemon. So it's a pretty good, still pretty good positioning for Eugene. He has to worry about this Gastrodon, which we've seen as an offensive set, so Incineroar might not feel too safe here. And so we might We might see Eugene actually try to double into. No, he switches out Incineroar, recognizing that he wants to keep that Pokemon safe. He brings in Virizion, expecting the Earth Power. Snorlax switches out, not wanting to take a low kick, and Togedemaru comes in, which wouldn't have taken much from low kick at all. Gastrodon uses Ice Beam into the Braviary and does some pretty big damage, and Braviary once again uses Whirlwind into what was the Snorlax, and it's just a game of a bunch of whirlwinds, basically, because Eugene doesn't want this Trick Room to happen. We saw what happened last game. Anyway, it's still a very solid position for Eugene because he can threaten Leaf Blade onto that Gastrodon and Whirlwind onto the Comfey to keep the Trick Room setup from happening. And so, and as we see, we do see Gastrodon protect here. And as expected, Leaf Blade goes into that slot. And, ooh, Comfey goes for the taunt. So there will be no whirlwinding here today. But, okay, so now Eugene is going to have to try to focus down that Comfey probably. Because the last thing he wants getting up is that Trick Room. So he really, really doesn't want to be facing down Trick Room. So, depending on this Verizion's item, and he does go into the Comfey, which it once again does not get the critical hit. And I think Eugene was banking on that because there's a chance he's running something like Scope Lens or something. I mean, I don't know because we haven't seen for sure yet. And both Braviary and Comfey get their berry. And Sludge Bomb goes into the Virizion, but that Virizion takes that well. Thanks to its very solid special bulk. It has base 129. And Trick Room gets up, unfortunately for Eugene. So now he's going to have a very hard time, especially with that poisoned Virizion. And Braviary not really wanting to take anything from this offensive Gastrodon set, especially now that it is in Trick Room. And we see Snorlax take the field again, and it can just belly drum if it wants to. It doesn't really care too much about what anything does. And Braviary goes for the Brave Bird into what was that Comfey, but is now the Snorlax. Because I think Eugene is recognizing that his out here is keeping Snorlax from getting to very high health. Because, okay, so I think what Chris is probably going to have to do here is try to make sure Virizion doesn't stay too healthy. Or he wants it to be taken out, probably, because... Oh, Snorlax goes for the return, making quick work of that Virizion. And now, Gastrodon uses Ice Beam, but the Braviary, of course, protected. Anyway, Eugene is not in a very good spot here, because now he pretty much has to bring out Incineroar, and the best thing he can do is fake out the Gastrodon, but it does, it's a very bad position for Eugene indeed, because Chris has two Pokemon under Trick Room that really love being under Trick Room because they're both very slow. And Eugene's best bet is Incineroar, but it's faster than both of Chris's opposing Pokemon. So, he's going to have to play... Eugene is going to have to play Fake Out very carefully and try to stall out these Trick Room turns. And we see Aegislash trying to block any returns from Snorlax, Ice Beams from Gastrodon. Gastrodon goes for the Earth Power into the Incineroar, and that does big damage. Brings Incineroar right down to its berry, but the next one is sure to just do it in. Incineroar goes for low kick into the Snorlax, which protected, of course, but now all Gastrodon has to do now is go for Earth Power onto that Incineroar once more, and Incineroar will be no more. Anyway, now Snorlax will also have to worry about what's going on. Snorlax does switch out, recognizing that this might not be a very good matchup for it. And we do see the Togedemaru come in. And Braviary comes out, and Gastrodon goes for the Earth Power into the Aegis Slash, and that also does big damage, and that was in shield form. And we see Ghostium coming out from Aegis Slash, but who is it going to go into? I would imagine Gastrodon, because Togedemaru was Snorlax before that, so we'll have to see. And yeah, it does indeed go into the Gastrodon slot. I think Eugene was recognizing that that is a very big threat to his Incineroar, and so he just gets it out of the way right away. And Trick Room has expired, so Eugene is once again in a pretty good spot here, because now all he really needs, it'll be very easy for him to make quick work of this Trick Room setter, although we would still expect to see a Fake Out from Togedemaru into that Braviary. But even so, Eugene has managed to bring himself into a pretty solid spot here, because now he has the Incineroar in the back with Low Kick for the Tyranitar, and he just has to make sure Comfey gets off the field, which with Aegis Slash and Comfey being at pretty low health, that shouldn't be too difficult. And so, what? He withdrew Aegis Slash? Okay, so I'm trying to figure out what he's trying to do here. Chris goes for the Fake Out into Braviary and taunts the Aegis Slash, so we're not even seeing the Trick Room yet. But anyway, now Incineroar can go for Fake Out and prevent Trick Room setup onto that Comfey. And Braviary, if it has like superpower or something, that should be able to take care of Togedemaru. This is, I mean, I still feel like it's a good position for Eugene, and it looks like he's trying to just get Comfey off the field, which, ooh, but Chris set up that Reflect, which it looks like may allow, oh, no, it does not allow Comfey to live, so Chris will not be getting Trick Room up anymore. Although, now, Snorlax has Reflect to assist it with those low kicks from Incineroar. So, Chris has gotten himself into a better position with that Reflect, but it's still not a great one for him, I think. I think Eugene is definitely going to want to focus on getting rid of that. Oh, he goes for Nuzzle into the Braviary, which is guaranteed to paralyze. And Braviary goes for the Brave Bird, which I would assume is into the Snorlax. And, yeah, brings it down to its berry, keeping Chris from being able to safely use Belly Drum. And, of course, Incineroar goes for the Low Kick into that position. And, Chris just goes for Return into the Incineroar. Although, Incineroar takes that pretty well, actually. But Togedemaru is the fastest thing on the field and can take out whatever it wants right now. So it's become actually a pretty good position for Chris here, because now he really has to worry about that Togedemaru, because it outspeeds everything, and everything is worn down to where Togedemaru can just start taking everything out. And now everything but Incineroar is paralyzed, and Togedemaru and Braviary just got paralyzed itself. And now think we're just gonna see this Togedemaru just sweep if we don't see Snorlax do that on its own. But yeah, Chris has found himself in a pretty good spot, even being unable to safely go for Belly Drum, and Braviary goes for the Brave Bird once again, just trying to focus down that Snorlax because it really does not want it in there. Snorlax goes for the return onto the Braviary, trying to just get it out of there. And now, Aegislash gets fully paralyzed, which could have been pretty important considering it very well could have had, like, Sacred Sword or something like that. Anyway, Incineroar takes the field once again, so it has the fake-out pressure again, but I'm not sure how much it will matter. Because now, all of Eugene's Pokemon are worn down, and that Togedemaru is still sitting there very healthy. But, so this is not a good position for Eugene at all. And Snorlax once again protecting, and Incineroar went for the fake out into that spot, and now we see Nuzzle trying to take out that Aegislash again. But we do see Reflect wear off, so now Chris is going to have to be very worried about that low kick going into Snorlax. So, assuming that Aegislash can break, although the next Nuzzle should take it out, actually. Oh, Aegislash went for King's Shield. Eugene making that read, expecting, oh, after you. And we do see Return take that Incineroar right out. So it looks like this is just lights out for Eugene because he has a paralyzed Aegislash, and this combination is just guaranteed to take it out. Yeah, Eugene forfeits, recognizing that he has no out here. But anyway, well played by both players. Very interesting team from Chris. I feel bad about kind of calling it dated. But anyway, it's unfortunate that Eugene won't be able to get points today, but it was very well played by both players indeed. We'll see you next time for the top 4 matches. Well, match.
3 turns in a row, man?